Wherever you are tonight, I hope you are comfortable. Perhaps lying down, perhaps just sitting quietly, letting the weight of the day dissolve into the softness of now. The world outside can wait. Let the light dim and let your breath slow, in and out, like the tide. Tonight, we will drift together into a world often unseen, a world so small and silent that most of us walk past it every day without noticing. Yet within it lies an ancient intelligence, one that shaped the earth long before humans, forests, or even flowers existed. Tonight, we will explore the hidden wisdom of moss. Imagine the forest after rain. The air is thick with the scent of wet earth, bark, and life. The trees glisten with tiny droplets, and underfoot the ground glows with a lush, living green, a carpet so soft it feels like the earth's own breath. This is the realm of moss. Mosses are the quiet architects of the land. They are not tall or showy. They have no flowers to attract attention, no roots to dig deep, no wood to stand proud. And yet, without them, life on land as we know it might never have begun. Long before the first trees rose toward the sun, moss had already begun the slow work of transforming rock into soil. Fossils tell us that the first moss-like plants appeared around 470 million years ago, at a time when continents were bare and the air was thin and raw. In those ancient days, moss crept across stone and sand, capturing moisture, holding dust, and creating the first fragile ecosystems where microbes and later other plants could thrive. In this way, moss didn't just survive the birth of the terrestrial world, it made it. It was nature's first gardener. Mosses live by different rules than the plants we know. It does not rush toward sunlight or fight for dominance. It does not bloom, wilt, or decay in predictable cycles. It exists in a kind of timeless rhythm, a soft persistence. If you touch a patch of moss, you might notice it feels damp and cool, even on dry days. That's because moss drinks directly from the air. Each of its leaves, if we can even call them that, is just one cell thick, a delicate membrane perfectly designed to absorb water and nutrients from mist, dew, or rain. When drought arrives, moss doesn't panic. It doesn't die. It simply pauses. It dries, curls, and waits. Scientists call this ability poikilohydry, the art of matching one's moisture to the environment. When rain returns, moss awakens almost instantly, returning to its lush green form within moments. It's a quiet miracle, an entire organism built on the principle of acceptance. Where most life resists, moss adapts. Where others perish, moss endures. There's a story of a species found in the Arctic that was revived after being frozen in ice for more than 1,500 years. When thawed and given water, it resumed growth as though no time had passed. The same has been observed in Antarctic mosses, tiny, ancient survivors, teaching us that life is less about constant action and more about patience. To the casual eye, A patch of moss is just a patch of green. But under a microscope, an entire world reveals itself. A dense forest in miniature. Each stalk rises like a tree, capped by spore capsules that resemble lanterns or domes. Between them, water droplets form shimmering lakes. Microscopic creatures, mites, springtails, and tardigrades roam these landscapes like elephants through grass. A single handful of moss can host thousands of life forms, each dependent on its ability to hold water and shelter them from the harshness of sun and wind. It's often said that moss is a microhabitat, but it's more accurate to call it a microcosm, a self-contained world. In this miniature ecosystem, energy, moisture, and decay circulate in perfect balance. Nothing is wasted. Everything connects. In this tiny world, we see the same principles that govern entire forests, oceans, and planets: balance, interdependence, and slow evolution. Water is to moss what air is to us. Its medium of thought, its method of communication. Without roots, moss relies entirely on the flow of moisture to carry nutrients and chemical signals. When a drop of dew lands on one tuft, it begins a journey, moving across leaflets, joining with other drops, forming a network of microcurrents. Through these channels, moss distributes hormones, metabolites, and even spores. In this way, it behaves almost like a neural network, transferring information through its body via the soft whisper of liquid. Scientists studying Physcomitrium patens, a model moss species used in plant biology, have discovered that mosses can coordinate cellular behavior through these internal water flows. They can sense light, gravity, and even nearby surfaces. Imagine that for a moment. A living organism with no brain, no nerves, and yet an awareness of its environment, an ability to adjust, to orient, to persist. It is a form of intelligence written not in neurons, but in rhythm. Everywhere moss grows, it changes its environment. It stabilizes soil, traps dust, and prevents erosion. On volcanic slopes, it is often the first life to appear after eruptions, laying the groundwork for forests to come. In the tundra, moss acts as an insulating blanket, preserving permafrost and moderating temperature extremes. In the rainforest, it catches water from mist and funnels it down to roots below. In cities, it clings to stone and brick, filtering pollutants from rainwater and absorbing carbon dioxide from the air. A recent study in Nature Geoscience found that mosses globally may absorb as much as 6.4 billion tons of carbon dioxide per year, a hidden force in the planet's carbon cycle, quietly cleaning the air while going almost unnoticed. The irony is beautiful. While humanity builds machines to capture carbon, the smallest plants on Earth have been doing it effortlessly for 500 million years. If you visit an old temple in Kyoto, a gravestone in Ireland, or a forgotten ruin deep in Ethiopia's forests, you'll often find moss thriving on its surface. It is one of the few organisms that truly marks time.
In Japanese culture, moss is sacred for precisely this reason. The famous Saihoji Temple, often called Kokedara, or the Moss Temple, is carpeted in over 120 species of moss, each cultivated deliberately over centuries. To the monks who care for it, moss is not a weed, it is a meditation. It represents the beauty of impermanence, the gentleness of decay. When you kneel in such a garden, what you see is not just greenery. You see the passage of time itself, measured not in seconds or years, but in dew and silence. The Zen masters teach that watching moss grow is a lesson in humility. You cannot rush it. You cannot force it. It thrives only where the conditions are right, in the balance of shade, moisture, and stillness. The garden becomes a mirror of the mind, quiet, soft, and receptive. In modern psychology, mindfulness encourages us to observe rather than react, to accept rather than resist. Moss embodies this perfectly. It teaches us that growth can be slow and still be progress, that change can happen invisibly and still reshape the world. It is a symbol of persistence without aggression, survival without struggle. In nature, moss occupies the margins, places too wet, too dark, too unstable for most plants. And yet, those very conditions make it vital. The margins, moss reminds us, are not empty. They are essential. In this way, moss mirrors human resilience, especially the quiet kind that doesn't make headlines, the kind found in people who adapt, who endure, who keep going softly despite the storms. Beyond its philosophy, moss is becoming a frontier of scientific discovery. Because of its simple structure and ancient lineage, Physocomitrium patens has become one of the most studied plants on Earth. Scientists use it to understand how early plants evolved the ability to survive on land. Its genome reveals adaptations that allowed primitive algae to withstand desiccation, gravity, and ultraviolet radiation, challenges faced by all land life that followed. Moss, in this sense, holds the genetic memory of Earth's transition from water to land. Researchers are also using moss to study bioremediation, harnessing its ability to absorb heavy metals and pollutants. Certain species can remove lead, cadmium, and arsenic from contaminated environments, acting as living filters.
In architecture and urban design, moss walls are being tested for their potential to clean indoor air and reduce heat. Unlike higher plants, moss doesn't need soil, meaning it can thrive vertically, fed only by humidity and light. Even space scientists are interested in moss. Because it can survive extreme dryness and radiation, Moss is being studied as a potential life form for closed ecosystems in extraterrestrial environments, a pioneer species for future colonies on Mars or the Moon. So the same organism that once colonized barren rock on Earth might one day do the same among the stars. When we think of evolution, we tend to imagine grand gestures, dinosaurs, trees, whales, humans. But life's story is also written in whispers, in organisms like moss that changed everything quietly. It's easy to overlook what doesn't demand attention. Yet the truth is that moss has shaped landscapes, regulated climates, and supported countless species, all without noise or movement. It is, perhaps, the ultimate example of what philosopher Lao Tzu meant when he said, "The softest thing in the world overcomes the hardest thing in the world." Moss conquers stone not by force, but by patience. It softens the hardest surfaces through time alone. In this, there is profound wisdom, that gentleness is not weakness, and stillness is not inaction. Though moss has no nerves, no eyes, and no voice, it exists in a constant state of awareness. It senses moisture, light, and gravity. It communicates chemically, adjusting its metabolism to its surroundings. In this sensitivity lies a form of consciousness, not the kind that thinks, but the kind that feels. If we were to slow our minds enough to match its rhythm, perhaps we might understand. Imagine yourself shrinking, moving through a forest of moss. The air is thick with dew, the light filtered through translucent leaves. You can hear the soft crackle of water molecules moving between cells. Each drop reflects the sky. Each filament trembles with life. You are inside the breath of the planet. This is the wisdom of moss, not to rush, but to be. Not to command the world, but to cooperate with it. Even now, on the oldest stones, in the coldest tundras, on the highest mountains, moss continues to grow. It lives where few things can. It endures radiation, pollution, heat, and cold. It has seen extinctions and ice ages, and it will likely outlast us too. Still soft, still green, still silent. Perhaps that is its greatest lesson, that true wisdom does not seek permanence, but participates in change. That the purpose of life is not domination, but connection. If we could carry a fragment of that wisdom into our own lives, a little patience, a little humility, a little flow, maybe we too could endure quietly through the long and beautiful unfolding of time. So, wherever you are tonight, let the image of moss stay with you, a soft green whisper on the edge of your thoughts. In its stillness lies an entire universe, ancient and alive. In its silence lies the music of survival. And in its fragility lies the strongest truth of all, that life, in every form, is sacred.